Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling that you're safe to enjoy the things that matter most. ADT lets you take that feeling with you. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, we help keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling for less than $1 a day. ADT, home, safe home.
Adam Schefter in our studio in this hour as well. The news he has there is that the deal for Roger Goodell is essentially done. It's being papered despite Jerry Jones' protestation or whatever role in it Jerry was playing. And again, Schefter will be able to give us more details on that. Goodell is going to stay in place. And so despite some complaints on both sides, it will be Roger Goodell and DeMaurice Smith going forward, leading their respective sides of the NFL labor issue into the future. And, you know, I think we all hope, regardless of which side we kind of favor, regardless of which side we think is more in the right versus in the wrong, that the two of them representing their quote-unquote constituencies can kind of work out some stuff and get in a room and figure out a few places that maybe they have some common ground and work with a little less public vitriol. I think that would be delightful, and I think it would be very good for the business.
I do as well. And I think right now, remember, you have the rest of this season, then you have 3 more seasons, the 18 season, the 19 season, and the 20 season. And it's after the 20 season that the CBA expires. So in this time, what can be accomplished? I'm not saying major things are going to be hashed out and reworked and redone, but what little victories can be had? What common ground can be found between the two? You know, to start that, to realize that everything can't just be, you know, about, well, we're going to do this, well, then we're going to strike and we're going to hold out, well, then we're going to lock out. And I understand for the players, if they really need to dig in on something, because I was there, you know, one of the ultimate thing you're going to do is withhold your services and not report and strike. And as I said, I've done that. It didn't work when I did. It doesn't mean it can't work under certain situations, but you'd love for there not to be one. And I really do. Neither one of these guys waits until after the 2020 season. There needs to be, hopefully, some things talked about and discussed before that for as you said, the relationship to get better. We could all use that. We really could. I don't know, though. It's so bad right now. It's just so bad. As I compare it to, unfortunately, the Republicans and Democrats when they don't want to agree on anything just because one's a Republican or one's a Democrat. It's just like, well, wait, the league says that? Well, the union disagrees. Well, the union says that? Well, the league disagrees. And it's a shame that's why I say you find something that can give you equal footing so that there is some small agreement that you can build from.
Can I read you something, by the way, while you were talking? Chris Mortensen emailed both of us. You obviously haven't seen it yet, but I looked at it. And this is relative to our conversation about Josh Allen, who, again, Todd McShay continues to have as the number 2 overall prospect right now for next year's draft. Not just the number 2 overall quarterback ahead of Josh Rosen, but the number 2 overall prospect. This is what Mort just sent us, because we were pointing out his numbers have not been good. I'm reading you directly from Mort. He wrote to us, talked to a general manager about Josh Allen yesterday. Here are quotes. He lost his 3 top wide receivers, an 1,800-yard runner, and a pretty good center, and has a couple of freshman linemen. I'm just hoping he doesn't get hurt because he's so competitive. Probably should have come out last year. Would have been the first quarterback taken in the draft. Enough teams will work past the garbage you'll hear. No comparison with his overall skill set, size, arm, mobility, good mind, competitor. If you put him in the USC offense, Clemson, Oklahoma, or a bunch of others, they'd all be talking like there hasn't been a better quarterback prospect in years.
Yeah, that's why I said you can't go by numbers. Just like if a guy has a ton of touchdowns and less interceptions, you still want to look. Is he locking onto a receiver? What are his throws like? Is he throwing a guy open? There's always things that you can break down. And here's a guy in Josh Allen. Nobody recruited him. I mean, he ended up this big, strong, strapping kid end up at Wyoming. None of the bigger schools recruited him. So that's why I say be careful of locking in on the stats and watch the games. Watch how he throws the ball. Watch who he's looking at. Watch how he reads the defense. Look where his eyes go. How does he throw on the run? You know, how much does he have to be on the run? There's way too many things to look at that you can throw out of college. It's just like for Lamar Jackson, throw out the running. Throw out all the plays he makes on the move because he's not going to run that much in college. So forget those plays. He's not going to be out of the pocket, this high percentage of the time. So forget a lot of that. So hone in on the things that you're looking for that translate to the next level.
But
that's what you do.
Isn't it just by definition harder to assess guys when they're playing with lower level talent, which is to suggest you're playing sometimes against. Right.
Not only
it's harder to assess them.
I mean, they assessed pretty well on him. He went early in the draft, and he seems to be panning out pretty well for a team that ran the ball a lot, by the way,
right?
Where he was. And then he had the hurt wrist and missed a lot of his last year there. Yes, it's harder to assess against the talent that you could be playing with, but it's not as hard to assess what you see. It's just like, I don't care if an old lineman, is playing NAIA or the top division. You can look at his feet. You can naturally look at feet and hands. You can look at the natural play of how they move. I can watch a lineman, old lineman or D lineman, for 5 minutes and at least get something out of it that says, okay, all right, I see something there, or boy, there's a lot that needs to be worked on there. You can watch it. Because you know what you need at the next level. It's not this overall thing of can he play football. It's can he play football in the NFL. So that takes out a lot of the read option run by Lamar Jackson. A, we know he can do it, and B, he ain't going to do it much at the next level.
Right.
So, okay, let's filter through that, and let's look at the things that he's going to have to do. How does he do them?
Let's bring Stugotz in from the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz and a whole lot more. And we know that he is a fan of a team that will be very active looking for a quarterback in next year's draft. So I'm not sure how much of that conversation you heard there, Stu, but we know that, Sam Darnold is the guy that everyone seems to love, and Rosen has a lot of things that you like about him. And now here's Chris Mortensen saying that there are general managers saying that if Josh Allen had come out last year, he'd have been the first quarterback taken. Who's on the Stugotz radar for the Jets as of right now?
Greeny, here's what I know. Good morning, guys. Here's what I know. Whichever quarterback the Jets take, it's going to be the wrong one. Like, I hate the fact. I hate the fact that the year the Jets are tanking, the year it looks like they're going to go 1-15 or maybe even 0-16, that there are 4 choices at the quarterback position. I want there to be one definitive choice where everyone's saying this is the guy you have to take. I'm not even certain it's Sam Darnold. I haven't been that impressed with him through the first couple of weeks of the college football season. But I can assure you of this. Whichever one the Jets take is going to be the wrong one. The other 3 will be Hall of Famers. The one that the Jets take will make it maybe 3 or 4 years in the NFL.
Are you truly at this point, and do you think 49er fans like you as a Jet fan are just hoping for a loss every week? I mean, are you truly looking for that?
It's funny, Mike, because I was going to ask Greeny. Usually it takes me like 6 or 7 weeks to get to the point where I'm rooting for Jet losses. I've already arrived there in week 3. Like, Greeny, how are you doing this? Because they have the Dolphins home opener this week. They have the Dolphins at home. They're 0-2. Even if they win this game, Mike, there is absolutely no hope for this Jet team moving forward. I have already resigned myself. Like, I'm rooting for the Jets to lose. This would be a bad win in week 3 against the Dolphins, even though it would get them to 1-2 in a division where, Buffalo's not that good. The Dolphins, if they lose to the Jets, we could say they're not that good. And the Patriots got off to a 1-1 start. I'm still rooting for a Jet loss this weekend, Greeny.
I would describe myself as the worst thing that a fan could ever be as far as a team is concerned, is that I've become indifferent. Like, I made the comment to someone yesterday, the Jets giving up on a season, just tanking a season, has made me better at my job, because I used to just watch the Jet game and then I'm frantically trying to catch up with everything else that happened at the same time. I don't even watch now. It's part of what's on the Red Zone. I watch whatever they show of the Jet game, which generally speaking is very little. Yeah. I mean, last week I saw a lot of Michael Crabtree. The first week I would say I probably watched half the Jet game. But the truth is, I know they're not trying to win. The owner's brother can say whatever he wants to say. The Jets are tanking a season. Use whatever term you want. They're not. They're rebuilding. Whatever the word is that they're more comfortable using. That's what they're doing. There isn't any reason to make an emotional investment in it right now. So that's the way I feel, Stugotz. I'm paying less attention than any other time in the entirety of my life.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying more attention to the guys playing on Saturday because I'm interested in which quarterback I think is going to be the best fit for the New York Jets. I'm totally with you on that, Greeny. It hasn't made me better at my job. I can tell you that, but nothing will make me better at my job. But I assure you of this. I am not paying nearly as much attention to the Jets as I have in years past. And you're right. I'm watching all the other games on the Red Zone channel. So listen, Golic, this is just the life of a Jet fan, man. It's a miserable existence. It's a miserable existence.
All right, let's go away from football and to what happened on the baseball field with the 4-year-old girl getting hit in the Yankees game by the line drive. and the talk comes up of netting. How far should it go down first and third baseline? Should it be extended, or should it just be up on the fans to be able to protect themselves? We both think it is that time, and probably before this, that netting should be put up. Where are you on this, Stu?
I love that we're having the conversation after something bad happened. That's ridiculous. We should be having these conversations before something bad happens. Dan and I have talked about this on our show for years. Yeah, you can't, like the nature of the sport, that sport, baseball, where balls can come at you at a high rate of speed. There should be netting there. I mean, fans should be and feel protected when they go to a baseball game. I know it's part of the charm. You're close to the field, catching a foul ball. You bring your mitt, but not some of those screamers that come straight back and can potentially, like it did last night, hurt someone or hurt a child, and the child has to go to the hospital. Yes, they're absolutely. I don't care if it takes away from the charm of Major League Baseball. It's more important that kids and that everyone feel safe. Greeny, I have to be honest, though, and I don't want to laugh too much at this story, but I heard you at around 7:30 this morning talking about wearing catcher's masks to the baseball game for kids. Let me tell you something. I mean, my daughters will go to maybe a game, maybe 2 games a year with me. They do it just to please their dad. They'll go to a Met game with me. I will tell you, the quickest way to get my daughters to stop doing that with their dad is me telling them they have to wear a catcher's mask in 95-degree weather in the middle of July.
That's true.
That's probably true.
Are you put the chest pad on, too? What are you going to do? Like, where did it stop?
Actually, if they would allow you to go out and maybe have a conversation with the pitcher, during the game.
There you go.
Shouldn't be joking around about a serious topic, but I understand what you're saying. Speaking of which,
yes.
What is this picture that I'm looking at over here of you with an enormous scar on your head? What is this that you sent us here?
Oh boy, man, I cringe just looking at that. That happened a couple of years ago because I heard you guys talking about this story and talking about whether there should be golf netting in golf as well. That happened to be on the golf course. Now, on my golf course, I'm terrified to bring Greeny there, but I would love to bring Golic there. My golf course and the way me and my friends play, they're tricked out golf carts. The music is blaring. We play, we don't play foursomes. We play, 8, 10 guys. In our group, and we all play the same holes at the same time. Greeny would be mortified by this. There is, a lot of alcohol being consumed. And so that's me. We're playing with 8 guys. We have a great match going. I can't hear. I think I'm on the 15th hole of my course, Greeny, and I can't hear one of my friends who's coming up with a 9-iron. I'm standing right there. It's the first time all day I took my hat off for a second just to get the sweat off of my forehead, and I can't hear him yell 4 because I had Pearl Jam blaring out of my golf cart, and I couldn't hear him, and I, possibly had a couple of cocktails in me, and I couldn't hear him, and the next thing I know, ball hits me right in the head, 16 stitches, and that's the story. Right to the hospital, 16 stitches right from there.
Well, let me a couple of questions, and first a statement. I want to play golf with you and your group. I know you do. Sounds
Golic.
like the best way to possibly play golf, and it actually sounds like when Jake got married, we golfed the day before. It sounds like that golf outing with groups and dangerous golf carts and, some alcohol involved. And secondly,
yes.
You said 15th or 16th hole. The big question, you got 16 stitches. Did you finish the round?
You know what? I wanted to. I tried. I was on the 15th hole. The 16th hole is a par 3. It's a short par 3. So I did play the 16th hole with blood pouring out of my forehead. But one of the guys in our group was a doctor, and he said, listen, Stugotz, you got to go to the hospital right now. You got to go to the hospital. And I said, Doc, all right, well, take me to the hospital. And he said, no, I can't do it. I'm too drunk.
That's a tremendous.
That is just awesome.
I'm so horrified by the notion of this golf event that once again, I know what you're doing. It may be an enjoyable activity. It is not anything I would describe as golf. But I'm sure it's an enjoyable activity. I'm sorry.
Well, listen, you're both invited. You're both invited. I know Golic will take me up on that invitation. Greeny, I know I will never see you at my golf.
No, I'm otherwise occupied. I'm busy from now until the end of time. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Stugotz is with us on the Shell Pinto Performance Line. I'm told that you're interested in this story we haven't gotten to today, and it involves 2 Major League players and 1 autograph, and I will let you tell the story from there. Go.
Yeah, I don't even know the reliever's first name, but that was last name.
Pat Neshek.
Pat Neshek.
Pat Neshek from the Colorado Rockies. So he's a guy that, one of our producers, Guillermo, is convinced that that Neshek is just in the major leagues to collect memorabilia. And I'm not certain I disagree with him. But this is a guy who goes around and he's a big memorabilia guy, and he gets a bunch of guys from Major League Baseball, just about everyone, from what I've read, to sign stuff for him, for his kids, for his family, whatever. And one of the guys that he doesn't have an autograph from yet is Diamondbacks pitcher Zach Greinke. Now, they had a conversation at the All-Star game, and Greinke said, hey, not going to do it here, but the next time you see me, just come up to me and I'll get it done for you. And so Colorado's in Arizona. He sends a couple of cards to their dugout for Greinke to sign. He doesn't sign them. And then, he goes to Greinke right at the pitcher's mound, and he says, hey, come on, man, we talked about this at the All-Star game. You said you would do this for me. And Greinke's response, which is perfect, and he's a bit quirky. We all know that. He's quirky. His response is, hey, man, you're wearing me out. And he just jogs away, which is a great response. And then he goes to meet him in the outfield. Like this guy. So I see a little bit of Stugotz in the Rockies reliever, because this is exactly what I would do in an effort. Like, I wouldn't take no for an answer. He meets him in the outfield, and he says, come on, Zach, do this for me. And Greinke does not break stride, runs right past him and says, listen, at this point, I wouldn't sign it if your kid was asking me to sign it. So I don't know who I agree with. I'm interested. Who do you guys agree with? Because I feel like he's being a pest and Greinke is doing the right thing here. But I will also tell you, I would act exactly the way the Rockies reliever, because I can't pronounce his name, I would act exactly the way the Rockies reliever acted in that spot. I don't take no for an answer.
It's Pat Neshek. Let me ask you, Mike, what is the fraternity, the only times I've ever been on
sign
the field.
it. I mean, are you kidding me? If this in fact is the story, what you just laid out, and it's true, this is completely on Greinke. Doesn't this? Now I don't know for a fact, but don't players sign stuff all the time
for each other
in the clubhouses?
Definitely.
For each other?
I mean, I've physically seen that.
I have seen that as well. So I mean, ask them to sign a couple of cards. Sign them. The only reason it's getting aggravating now is, I guess Neshek keeps asking him, and Zach, because you didn't sign it in the first place. I don't know why he didn't sign it at the All-Star game. Maybe I don't know the full story of this thing at all, but sign it. Sign it. You don't have an issue. So if this, in fact, is the way the story went, to me, the blame is on Zach Greinke.
For the only time, someone like Stugotz or I, the only time that we ever would have been on a field would be with a media credential.
Right.
And it is very explicit that you cannot ask to take a picture with anybody. You can't ask for an autograph, not for your kid, not for a charity,
right.
not for anything. Or they will take your media credential away, and they take that seriously, and they should. It's the right rule, because otherwise you would have that happening all the time. But I've always been under the impression that in the fraternity of players they would sign stuff for each other.
Absolutely.
So I don't understand it. It feels like there's a piece of this missing.
It does to me, too, Stu, that a piece of this is missing on why Greinke wouldn't sign these in the first place. I mean, it became an aggravating...
I think Greinke is just being Zach Greinke. I think, he's stringing him along and said, All-Star game. He just keeps pushing it, kicking the can down the road until he gets rid of the guy. I just don't think he's interested in signing it. And listen, Neshek tried to make it as easy as possible. He said, listen, just put a Z there. Don't even sign your whole name. And Greinke still said no, which I just think is, I don't know, to me it's comical, man. I'm kind of with Zach Greinke. The guy is a pest. He is following him around. He's stalking Zach Greinke for a Z on his baseball card. Come on, man, you're an adult. And then he trashed him on social media afterwards, calling him all kinds of names, man. That's not cool. You can't do that to Zach.
No, it's not cool that Greinke didn't sign in the first place. So
okay, now here's
my fault with Greinke.
This is National League Baseball.
Yeah.
Greinke is a starting pitcher.
Yep.
He will bat.
Yes.
If in a start against that.
Right in the ribs.
You're talking about if Neshek is pitching. But does one of his teammates now have the Neshek isn't it may not wind up
please
facing
don't
him.
tell me that's going to happen.
Does one of the teammates.
No.
Come on.
No.
This is like he took our guy out at second with the cleats high.
No, it's not. It's nothing like that.
He won't sign Neshek's autograph. I think he's got to pay.
He wants to pop him, go ahead, but nobody else should.
All right.
Greeny, I think the guys on his own team are saying, man, relax. You're a professional athlete. Stop being such a dork chasing Zach Greinke around for an autograph or a Z. I actually think his teammates are on Zach Greinke's side.
Listen, doing it a few times to Zach. Zach said no, we should have just left it at no. So Neshek keep going at it. I agree with you there. But it should have never reached that point. Greinke should have just signed.
All right, we only have a minute here for Beef Stew, so let's do this quickly. Stu, do you have more beef with Kyrie Irving denying that his being traded had anything to do with LeBron, or him saying he didn't owe LeBron an explanation?
He didn't owe LeBron an explanation. LeBron taught him that, by the way. I have an issue with Kyrie just not saying what everyone knows he wants to say. He hasn't spoken to LeBron. He never talked to LeBron about this trade. It is very obvious that Kyrie Irving, and I'm fine with it, by the way, but just come out and say it, Kyrie. Like, what's the big deal at this point? You're already on the Boston Celtics. I am totally fine with the fact that Kyrie Irving no longer wanted to play with LeBron James. He didn't want to be his number two. He probably felt like in the year they won the championship, he hit all the biggest shots to help LeBron win that championship and got really none of the credit. It all went to LeBron James. He didn't want to play with LeBron anymore. I totally get it. Didn't want to be, his Robin, and didn't want to be his number two. Didn't want to be his wingman. He wanted to be a number one guy and go to the Celtics, and now he has a very good chance to win, although I don't think he'll win much there. I think he'll get to the Eastern Conference and lose. But my issue is just Kyrie not coming out and telling us what we all know is the case, is the fact that he did not want to play with LeBron James anymore. And I'm fine with that, but I'm not okay with him not saying it. Just say it already.
Last one, more beef with Kevin Durant arguing on social media or him using a fake account to do it?
Has he admitted to the fake account? I don't even know if he did. I'm reporting right now that A, he's not sorry, and B, he absolutely used a fake account. He's only sorry because he got caught. And I have a big issue with what he was saying on social media, that it's Billy Donovan's fault. Billy Donovan wasn't good enough. His supporting cast wasn't good enough. No, KD, you were up 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors. You, the best player in the world, you weren't good enough. It wasn't Donovan. It wasn't the supporting cast. You weren't good enough to close that series out. And because you weren't good enough to close that series out, you went and joined the Golden State Warriors because you couldn't beat them by yourself. So, no, that is all on KD. My issue is with KD and these secret Twitter accounts and him being so ridiculously overreactive to what fans think about him and what fans are saying about him.
That's well done. It's a good week. Stugotz here
Stu.
with Dan and company every day, coast to coast, starting right after us here on ESPN Radio. Thank you, Stu.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Do you think that, and by the way, Stugotz with us, Mike and Mike, were presented by Shell Pennzoil, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. The way he described he and his buddies' golf game sounds like fun to you?
Oh, that sounds like the only way to play golf. And that literally does sound like how it got going for the last 9 holes at Jake's bachelor party, and it was an absolute ball except for the 3 or 4 people that just about almost lost their life with a sliding golf cart. But that's a whole nother,
Let's move past that.
Yeah. Hey, everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Here he is, Adam Schefter, with all the insight. And again, it wouldn't be Schefty if he wasn't texting someone right now. Good morning, Adam Schefter.
Good morning, gentlemen.
We have been reading your report all morning long about the latest with Roger Goodell. So take us through sort of all of this, because I was fascinated on Sunday when you and Mort had the report that Jerry Jones had inserted himself into the middle of this. And we know that dates back before the Zeke Elliott decision. And yet so many people, just based upon what's going on now, we'll put those two together. We had Mort in here talking about it Monday. But with that as the context, take us through where we are as far as Goodell getting his contract extended.
Well, essentially, the compensation committee had a conference call yesterday. And the way it was explained to me was that the owners resolved any of the issues and questions that they had, that the deal is getting papered right now, that the deal has to be presented to Goodell. Now, there were some people that wondered when they got this deal agreed to, presented, formalized, would Roger Goodell be willing to take it? Because there was question about how much money was going to be in the deal, how the package was going to be paid out. Was it going to be some type of deferred compensation? All sorts of questions financially with a deal that large. And the way it was explained to me last night was the owners on that compensation committee would not be putting together a package and presenting it to Goodell unless he would accept it. That, yes, they believed he would take the deal as they constructed it yesterday. So it is, quote unquote, being papered right now. and they're going to give it to him. And I was told that within days or weeks, it'll be official, it'll be finalized. But that deal, in the words of this person, is "quote unquote" getting done.
And even though he may not be making $44 million, he's still going to get papered pretty well.
Well,
with what he's going to make. And it sounds like this has always been about the money as opposed to did they want him out
correct.
As commissioner.
I am in agreement with that.
Yeah.
Yes, I think when Jerry Jones was connected to some questions here about what to get done, I think it involved the money, how much was being paid, the way it was being paid. And I also think that there's some questions about some of the people that he had in place, Roger Goodell had in place in the league office that I don't think Jerry Jones is particularly pleased with.
So, but to be clear, we don't know and won't necessarily know how much he gets paid, right?
Correct.
Based on 2 years ago, they changed their tax-exempt status.
That's exactly right.
So they don't have to announce that anymore. Do we have any way of, for lack of a better word, guessing if he has taken a significant pay cut for?
I don't think there'll be a pay cut involved.
But we were talking about in the $40 million range a couple of years ago.
And
right?
again, that's that's not the base, right? That's with everything involved with incentives.
A lot of compensation.
It is a lot of compensation.
Again, I think that the structure of the deal, my read, and nobody's going to say this, my read is that the structure of the deal will be changed, that he will have the opportunity to make just what he's always made with certain incentives and packages depending on how certain things go. How much of that is base? How much of that is incentive? I don't know the answer to that.
What kinds of things? I'm just curious. Would that be related to television ratings? Would it be related to overall revenue?
I think total revenue generated would be one area that would impact his earnings. That to me is the one area that just stands out in my mind. But I don't know the other areas that they would quantify into that category.
So he's going to be there through the next CBA, which ends after the 2020 season. And now it seems DeMaurice Smith is going to be there, though by term, would his next term end that March of when they're doing that, or will they extend that?
Well, here's the deal.
The contract?
On D. Smith's deal, it's for 3 years, but they have the ability to make it 5 years.
Right.
So here's the deal. Roger Goodell's getting an extension now. D. Smith's getting his extension. And I don't think that the two are connected in any way, shape, or form, but it's interesting that basically within 24 hours, these deals are going to get done because these are the two men who are going to be sitting across from each other at that bargaining table, flanked by all their executives and lawyers and smart people. And the future of the league is contingent upon these two guys and what they can or cannot do during the next round of CBA talks that obviously there's a lot of doom and gloom forecasted. And it's not going to be easy because relations between the two sides never have been any worse than they are right now. But you're talking about a lot of money. And as you know, Mike, the players are going to have an awfully strong stomach to be able to walk away. It's easy to say now, 4 years out, there's going to be a work stoppage. Let's see what happens when we get close. And there's so much that has to happen between then and now. To even say that right now is just a bit premature in my mind.
Was it surprising to those that D got voted in right now and it didn't have to wait till the election? The elections are every 3 years in March, and Cyrus Mary had been making, wanted to be the guy was Troy Vincent in 2015 that D. Smith, beat in that, and Cyrus Mary wanted to be in the mix here, and now he won't get the chance to do that. So was it surprising that it didn't even get to the election in March, or no?
Listen, the player reps, the 14 player reps who elected D. Smith, extended D. Smith the other night, always had the ability to do this.
Right.
And Cyrus Mary was making a lot of noise and really trying to get involved. And I know that that side believes that this is not the voice of all the players. But it doesn't really matter what the voice of all the players is. It matters what the voice of the people who had the power in the room felt. And they felt that they wanted D, and they got that deal done. So that's it. It's D. Smith, and it's Roger Goodell, and it's up to them to figure out the next CBA.
Mike and Schefter here. One more on this, and that would just be what, if any, reaction did you hear from the league, from people on that side of the – and again, these are supposed to be partners. I mean, they're supposed to be working together. The NFL and the Players Association have a partnership. They split revenue in a way that has been collectively bargained in the same way they do in the NBA. Yet, obviously, this feels like these are combatants rather than partners.
And they are.
They are. What reaction did you hear from people on the NFL side about the re-election of D?
Well, listen, Joe Lockhart, the NFL spokesman, was on a conference call with the reporters yesterday, and his comment was essentially, we congratulate D. Smith and look forward to working with him on the next round of CBA. Now, what they're saying privately, I'm sure, is a little bit different than that particular message. But look, the last deal from a financial standpoint, the NFL did very well in that.
Right.
So I don't think the NFL is concerned about that. They know that they're going to have a challenge on their hands to get a deal done with D. Smith, and we'll see how the two sides
from the football, from the money side of it, the NFL, from the taking care of players, we see the players with the off-season started later. Mm-hmm. Practices have less pads, no two-a-days. So players got what they wanted.
And the coaches hate that.
And the coaches can't stand that, and I understand why. But now the player, I think, focus will shift more to money, which will be a very different
And I've said this. We've talked about Roger Goodell's powers. And in the grand scheme of things, to me, if I'm a player, that is so secondary to something like a fifth-year option on a contract that affects elite players like Khalil Mack and Mike Evans and Odell Beckham and Zach Martin and Aaron Donald. Those guys are beholden to the teams for an extra year, whereas if you're taken in the second round, those are 4-year contracts. The players in the first round get 4 with the team's ability to pick up a fifth-year option at what is much less than what they would get on the open free agent market. So they came up with a system designed to basically eliminate some of the big salaries going to Jamarcus Russell.
Right.
Sam Bradford at the top of the draft, $50 million guaranteed. And that was the right thing to do. But it's also unfair to penalize somebody who's an elite player when there's a shelf life on your career from hitting the open market and being able to make money. And to me, a fifth-year option is much more important and much more significant to a majority of players than whether Roger Goodell has power or not.
That wouldn't even be second on my list.
Correct.
That'd be way down.
Way down.
The thing, however, is that the people who are negotiating this deal, right, the active players don't really have that as a concern anymore. By the time we get to this, Odell Beckham, we're talking about rookie contracts, which don't affect, by definition, anyone who's already in the Players Association.
But it's an issue of what's right.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Well, plus
it's the reason Odell doesn't have a new deal. It's the reason Donald doesn't have a new deal.
In 3 years, when this is being negotiated, there will be another group of players that will have been going through this next year and the year after and the year after. So,
but there will be no pending rookies. There will be no one for whom this will actually matter in the room making these decisions.
No,
this is something that only affects someone who is going to become a first-round draft pick.
That's okay.
But that's okay when they're having these conversations 5 years ago.
Yeah, the rookie
it was
wage
the same
scale.
conversation.
Yeah, there was no rookies in the room, and they had the rookie wage scale. So, I mean, they don't have to be any rookies in the room.
Rookie wage scale, I think, benefited they thought was going to benefit the veterans. They're going to take some of that money and recycle it to us. And what actually wound up happening
I get it, but the point
all the middle class
they
lost
fought
their
for that
jobs
without having rookies in the room. I mean,
but I think that was damaging to they were taking money away from the rookies. This is something that would be empowering first-round picks to be able to get more money more quickly. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But not as rookies. They would be getting after the third year.
Rookie wages still have been limited. We're talking about the players who, after a period of time in the NFL, who shine and have excelled, get paid. That's what we're talking about.
But would that rule be changed retroactively, like all of a sudden?
No.
That's what I mean. So we're debating nothing here. I understand what I mean. I may not be making it clear. We got a bunch of on-the-field stuff to get to with Schefty as well, so let's take a quick break on that. Mike Schefty's in our studio talking football with you. Paul Feinbaum still to come this morning. One of the more interesting games on the schedule this weekend to me, Schefty, is Tampa Bay at Minnesota. We've only seen one game from the Bucs, and they look spectacular. Now they go to Minnesota, where the Vikings opened up really strong on that Monday night, and then in something of a surprise, they lose Bradford week 2, and we don't know what the situation is with him. We're hoping that you do. What are you hearing about Sam Bradford?
Mike Zimmer intimated that this is a decision that's going to go up to game time. He was limited in practice yesterday. They don't know whether he's going to be able to play on Sunday. Obviously, they want to see how the knee recovers. He's been undergoing a lot of treatment this week. It's not an issue of whether he can go out there and throw. There were some clips out there on social media of him throwing the football. We know he can do that. The question is, how is that twice surgically repaired knee that's had 2 ACL tears, that's been reconstructed, how is that knee going to hold up? And the injury occurred on a non-contact play. I don't think he ever got close to playing last week. I think they knew that all along. They said it was going to be a game-time decision. And whenever they say it's a game-time decision, more often than not, usually they're not going to play the guy. They decide not to play him. They're hoping that he can make it back. I think they're preparing as if Case Keenum may be the guy this week because there's a big question. And they say they're going to take this up to game time. Look, they got to have Sam Bradford healthy and right, or that's going to be a big problem for that team.
And then we continue with the Andrew Luck situation where early in the weeks he's just out. It seems, Schefty, that he is a long way away. And I know they didn't put him on the PUP list, which would mean he'd have to miss the 6 weeks. But, boy, it doesn't seem
you know what?
like
Let me say this.
Unless we don't know what's going on in practice.
Look, there's a team. Let's keep this in mind. There's a team that didn't have a lot of roster depth. Okay, they claimed 5 players on the final cutdown. So the bottom part of their roster was disposable, largely. And so for them to keep Sam Bradford on the roster as a symbolic gesture, to give these players hope, to give that community something to think about.
Luck,
Andrew Luck.
What did I say?
You said Bradford. We know
Luck.
what you meant.
Okay. To keep him on the roster, just from a mental standpoint, a morale standpoint, may have been worth it to them, particularly when there's a question about when he's going to be back. Look, as you mentioned, they've already said Luck is out. So if they rule him out on Monday and he's not practicing again this week, then I think it's safe for us right now to say we don't think he's playing next week in Week 4 against Seattle. Now we're at Week 5, so if you kept him on pup, he was going to miss 6 games anyway.
Right.
And now you get to wonder if they're sitting there with a poor record at a certain point, what's the sense of even bringing him back? Right. Now, they have insisted that he's going to play this year. So we'll take them at their word. But I don't know that they've been completely accurate with their forecast for Angelo, because we've been told that he was going to be ready early on, going to be ready to go, might miss the beginning of the season. Nothing has seemed to match up. Yeah. And all we can go by the facts right now, we're 3 weeks in. He's not practicing, he's not playing, and it doesn't look like he's going to do that anytime soon.
And there's one more we wanted from you today, and that is the situation with Lawrence Timmons, which, I mean, the reporting got kind of weird. You've been on top of it. Timmons disappeared from his teammates, and then he wanted to come back and play. They wouldn't let him play. He's suspended. We don't know how long. What do we know about the situation with Timmons in Miami?
Well, first of all, basically, they filed a missing persons report on Saturday because they had no idea where he was. That's not the way you want to head into the start of your regular season with your star linebacker, your big free agent acquisition, basically going missing. Now, he showed up early Sunday morning, and apparently he wanted to play. They sent him home. So he spent the early part of this week, and we didn't hear what happened with it, meeting with doctors. Gives you an idea of where this is at. There's some questions and concern about his well-being at this point in time. It's also devolved right now, as it always does, into a money issue, because the Dolphins paid him a lot of money, and there's a lot of money at stake, and they don't feel like they are entitled to have to pay him the money that they already have invested in him. So I think we're going to see these two sides fight over the money that's involved here, and I think that his future in Miami is at best in question, tenuous, unlikely. My own personal sense is he'll never play for that team again.
Really?
Correct.
It's amazing. It was in Pittsburgh for the years. I think it was a 2-year deal he signed. Was it not for Miami? I believe it was. But, I mean, they expected a lot out of this guy. So much now.
They were counting on him.
Absolutely goes AWOL. And so much so now they're not, that they traded for Stephon Anthony to fill that spot.
All right, he's Adam Schefter, and he's with us here, and all the insight. Again, the big story today, that the deal is being papered. Roger Goodell will get that extension. Do you think there was significant opposition? I mean, was there ever any real question?
I think all along that the owner, they were never going to get enough owners to shoot it down and block him. But there were various points, like Jerry Jones wanting to see if there could be somebody else that could be brought in there for that job. It just never got to that point.
That would have been really interesting. Where does he go from there? And maybe more to the point, who would be the person who would come in next if they were to make the replacement? It turns out we won't have to know. All right, Schefty, always with the very latest. Great to see you as always. Thank you. Paul Feinbaum is on the way next. Stay there. Mike and Mike.
First time skydiving? Sure is. Okay, you just open the door like this and you jump. Wait. Should we be like in tandem? Tandem? That's a great idea. Are you a certified instructor? No, but I love parachutes and I love people. Here we go.
You wouldn't take chances with an uncertified skydiving instructor. Don't do it with your finances. Find a certified financial planner professional today at letsmakeaplan.org. CFP. Work with the highest standard.